One of the most powerful realizations during a spiritual awakening, especially if you've already been through your shadow work, your inner child healing, you've been through the motions of a spiritual awakening, you've awoken to your authentic self, and you're able to simply walk in your power, in the softness of that power, in the loving assertion of your power. One of the things that you realize is there's a huge shift that happens from identifying yourself with just the body and what the body senses, what the body experiences, and realizing that, hang on a second, the body was merely my vehicle, and that I simply pick and choose my vehicle every time I want to have an experience. And therefore, rather than running away from karma, karma is extremely important to keep the game going, to keep the lila going. Karma is important. But every time we go through yug parivartana, we go through a change in age, we change karma to dharma. And when we change karma to dharma, what happens is that your attachment to body consciousness drops, and instead you work towards an expanded consciousness, an expanded exponential growth of consciousness, which requires karma but in the form of dharma. When karma switches from being all about you, the individual, to all about us, it shifts into dharma, which shifts into let us all work for each other as opposed to against each other. When we start to work for each other, what that means is all of your actions now become our actions, so that you now realize how one individual's reality can affect another individual's reality. And so we work towards an expanded sense of self. And this is where a lot of you go through a spiritual awakening. You go, you see the light, you come back and enlighten, and realize that you were always enlightened, and that is what you're sharing with everybody else around you. So your karma shifts from karma to dharma. That is a very, very primary shift that happens, and especially because now you're no longer attached to your sense of individuate self. You're no longer attached to having things work out for you. So what that means is, practically, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be working for yourself, you're not going to be wanting things for yourself or having a desire that is just for yourself, but that will never be at an opportunity cost to somebody else, at least not deliberately. You'll be more conscious in the way that you expend prana, in the way that you expend energy. And dharma is a way of expending energy, but as an investment, so that your energy increases with every expenditure of it. So with every desire that you have to fulfill, with every karma, with everything that you want to do, every action that you want to take, it is not going to be an action that reduces, but it's an action that's going to increase. So in a way, when we start to invest consciously in our karma, that changes into dharma, because your individual karma is no longer self-serving, but it starts to serve the self with a capital S, and the self that is all of us. And this is where, as we expand our consciousness and we move into pure potential, you won't want to harm somebody else. You won't want to do things that are diminishing or reducing. Having said that, folks, having said that, we know that wars have been fought before. If you look back at, the Mahabharata, look back at all of the wars that the Sikhs had to conduct. There were so many things that happened in the past, and look at what's happening today as well. So this is when there is an offing of a change, when there is something that is going to happen, certain things take place, And so even in that, there will be something that is going to ultimately work towards expanding consciousness and unfolding consciousness. So nothing is futile, nothing is going to waste, nothing at all is going to waste. So the idea that we feel we've got to do away with our karma, you don't want to accumulate karma, as if karma is what we're trying to avoid. But folks, as long as we are incarnate, we will never ever avoid cause and effect, but you can avoid the attachment to the cause and effect by abdicating the throne of doership. So when you say, I am doing, and therefore I am doing for myself, I'm investing in this, but I'm investing in this because I am going to reap with whatever that happens. Now, when we start to think, I, slowly it gives rise to greed, slowly it gives rise to all the other vices that we know about. So, look back at history. You colonized one country, didn't have enough of that, you then wanted to go. And you just think about it as forget about colonizing, think about something that you really like. Think about someone that you really love. And ask yourself, why is it that when we love something or we really admire something, why do we want to take ownership of that? Why are we always chasing after accumulating something, making something ours? So you like something, but we can't just look at it at a distance and say, well, I appreciate that, but I don't have to make it mine. So that idea of me, you, I, it all falls away when you go through your spiritual awakening. So it's no longer self-serving, which is why so many of you going through spiritual awakening will be called upon, performing acts of selfless service. Some of you will have wanted to migrate to different parts of the world where you're needed, and you go there because you feel like you have a calling to do something. You feel like you want to do something for everyone. And folks, that's beautiful. It is indeed beautiful how we see the dissolution of the individual sense of self, so that whereas you were seeking answers, where am I in my spiritual awakening, where am I in my Kundalini awakening, all of these suddenly it shifts. You no longer, it doesn't matter anymore, because, and when that completely shifts and you realize it was never about me, the individual, which is why initially relationships are so important to us, because we look at that and then ultimately we forget, and we start to then rely on that to give us that remembrance. And then this moves from that into materialism, because if we're not getting that connection back to source, we start to fill it with so many things. We start to fill it with so many things, folks. But it's all good. It's all okay. It's all fair. So wherever you are, folks, wherever someone else is as well, let it be. Let it be. Remember, you are more than what you are experiencing. You are more than even what you are realizing. We are so much more than that it is almost impossible to realize through knowledge, through mind, through thought, through even feeling. At some point, you will be devoid of thought, emotion, and feeling as well, in order for you to perceive the truth. Because that truth will not be able to be perceived through the mind. And most of you who are already on the wisdom plane of existence, so you're already experiencing this, you will simply be able to perceive or be aware of awareness, but you may not have the words. And some of you will feel that, hang on, I'm not even using my mind. I'm not even thinking. I'm not even planning. But you are in your flow. Sending you so much love as always. Stay tuned for more. Lots of love.